Welcome, and thank you for attending a brief overview of field service management from IFS. My name is Tom DeVroy. I'm a senior product evangelist for the field service management product solution set. I want to talk to you briefly about the scope of the product and then get into a brief demonstration that exercises some of this capability. I'll start in the contact center where we have traditional customer support functions as well as help desk functions. It's also a place where we would gather information that is accrued from either directly the customer or our IoT business connector, or perhaps from a telephone call by the customer into our contact center. If I can resolve the call in the tech support function, use our knowledge-based tools or our intelligent question and answer capability, I would kill the call before a truck roll is required. If I couldn't kill the call in the call center, I'll exercise our scheduling and dispatch functionality where we'll raise a task, identify the correct resource through our schedule optimization tools, and delegate that task to a mobile device out in the field where the technician can either be tethered or untethered to the internet, utilizing a device of their choice, be it a phone, a tablet, or a laptop on any of the popular platforms. All this time, I'm going to be interacting with the remainder of the solution, including the asset installed base, where we have a very robust asset management capability that will track warranties and commitments that are derived from contracts or a warranty administration file. We'll debrief a call with that mobile device, consuming labor and parts, where I'm going to interact with the parts and logistics system. If there's a disposition of a part, I may exercise our return material authorization and subsequently maybe even fix a repair in a repair center. IFS Field Service Management offers specific purpose portals for instance, customer access or perhaps enabling a subcontractor to interact with the system on a real-time basis. And then finally, and as important as anything, is if you feed a system like this, you expect some intelligence on the back end in the way of reporting. And here we can enhance that with our enterprise operational intelligence platform, which is business process improvement tools to utilize this information that's accrued by field service management to properly drive your service business. So with that, let's toggle over to the software. The first thing that you'll notice is that it's a graphical-based interface. We have a concept of IFS lobbies. IFS lobbies allow us to dashboard information that's pertinent to a user or a group of users. So for instance, we have 10 dashboards that are organized, but can be tailored at implementation time around specific job responsibilities, like a dispatcher or a call taker, a service manager, perhaps somebody in shipping and receiving or in the repair center, maybe in purchasing or inventory, contracts, general performance, or maybe even enabling a dashboard view of what's going on from machine-to-machine interface through our IoT business connector. All of these lobbies, as I said before, can be modified, but let's take a look at a simple one. This is around a field service manager. They may be responsible for a team of technicians that perform jobs, and they want to look at what's outstanding, what's remaining, what are resolved tasks, what's on hold, perhaps a snapshot of field-based inventory, skill sets that may be expiring where they have a training issue that they have to address, escalations that require their approval. So these dashboards give a user a very easy way to identify what's going on for their area of responsibility. You noticed earlier I had clicked into a shortcut bar. The shortcut bar is a way for me to organize functions that I'm going to access. Because this is a demonstration system, I have access to all functionality in the system that corresponds to the introduction slide that you saw earlier. All of that functionality is available here, including our IoT Business Connector, which is new in the FSM 5.7 release, mobility, sales, including opportunity and quote management, repair center, integrating the FSM platform to other business applications, inventory and service parts, contract management, and traditional field service type functionality. Let's go into a service request. You'll notice that we've introduced the concept of colorization. I can drill into any of these service requests simply by clicking on a hyperlink. And when I click on the hyperlink, I will get a header on the top of the window and detail along the bottom. That detail will give me specific information about this particular object. And so you happen to be looking at our work order object, sometimes called a service request, as well as our task object, which is delegated out to the field service engineer. This navigation look and feel is consistent across the entire application. And so if I put in a wildcard search and search for parts or parts that had power supply in their description, I'm going to get a return where I have the header information on top about a given part or stock record and the detailed information below, usually in a list view. We tend to be able to sort data on relevant criteria, for example, maybe on-hand balance. And I can actually navigate anywhere in the application at any time without losing the spot where I'm at. So if I was in a work order and I wanted to check stock availability, I would perform the function that I just performed. We have a way of moving back and forth between work that's pertinent to me, my requests or my parts or my customers, and individual records. If I wanted a wider search, I simply could search with a click against a specific query of data or a global search to retrieve a lot of records with no search criteria. Let's go ahead and take a service call. Hit the new button. I'm going to identify what kind of service call this is. And for our demonstration purposes, I'll just make this a break fix call. I'll put it into an urgent status and say that my system is down. I can identify the customer, or I could key in the customer directly. If I didn't know the customer, I could put in specifics about the customer or the customer place ID, identify the customer from a customer master and retrieve it. That customer master data could come from FSM or from an external system. In this case, I'm just going to assume that the customer knew what their place ID was, and you'll notice that I have an alert where I can drill into similar requests that have been open for this particular customer, in this case, Visteon. I could drill into those other related requests or just continue on the call. I'll start to activate other commitments relative to the site or the product that the customer is calling about. In this case, it shows me that I have a couple of different active contracts. You can write as many contracts for a customer or a product at a customer site as you wish. I may want to identify the caller. If the caller is known, I can simply click to associate this particular request with a contact, or I could add a contact on the fly. I can query the install base directly from the work order create process, where it's going to retrieve all known equipment records that I have for this particular site. If I can identify the piece of equipment, that's great. It's not required. If I wanted to add a piece of equipment and register it to this site, I could do that during the call process. And once again, because I'm taking a call on a particular piece of equipment, any related work orders that are currently in an open state in the system will be displayed. And that also will retrieve any contract information that's relevant to this particular site product combination. I'm going to go ahead and use a simple assignment engine to identify by rule what's the best tech that I can delegate this account to. And in this case, The primary assigned technician happens to be a subcontractor. I'm going to override that for the purposes of this demonstration and assign it to myself so that you can see the call on my mobile device. And you'll notice that the first available time slot for this particular call, based on the SLA commitment on this work order, is tomorrow at 8 a.m. I'm going to actually move this up into DeVroy's schedule. A task has been raised now, 360, and that will be delegated out to DeVroy's mobile device. But a dispatcher would have seen that if I did this auto delegation in DeVroy's schedule, which is right here, and I can identify the information that I just took on that call in the way of float over text. Today's assignments are going to be organized in that schedule board with a floating a time indicator that gives us an idea of what the current status of the call is. Things that are unassigned can be shown in a window down below. Full drag and drop is available. And so if I wanted to drag an assignment into an open space, I certainly have the ability to do that. I have some indicators that will give me an identifier of what kind of call this is. And so in this particular call, this happens to be a PM call with a series of tasks associated with it. Once again, we've introduced the concept of colorization so that I can quickly identify urgent items that require attention. On the mobile device, DeVroy would have received a call in his job list, 360, that he would then work to completion after receiving it. And in a subsequent video, if you're interested, you can look at how this call will be debriefed in an introduction to the FSM mobile solution.